Next thing I think I'm going to do here is while I'm in here, and since this looks new, this ignition coil, I'm going to make sure it's gapped properly. To do that, you just get a business card. Any old business card will do. The business card's about 10/1000ths of an inch. And what you're trying to do is measure. Before I do that, I'm going to actually put a something on the brake bail there just so that I can spin this flywheel. So hold on just a sec. Okay, so what I've done is just I put a little tie on the brake bail there. So what that does is it actually pulls on this lever here, which actually releases this brake from the flywheel, and that's how your mower shuts off. It actually applies this brake to this flywheel and slows it down. What it also does is it actually allows, when I let go of that that brake bail up top there, it actually allows this guy right here, this arm, to actually touch this piece right here. So those two pieces touch, and it actually grounds out the spark plug wire. This little wire here actually goes to the bottom side of your coil, which is, if I can get you a good shot of it, right there. So that'll short out, basically ground out your coil and gets rid of the spark. So it actually does two purposes, that brake bail. So, and it also allows me to spin the flywheel nice and free now because there's no brake. So, the whole idea for gapping this ignition coil when you guys replace a new coil is you got armature here and then you got magnets on the flywheel. So when that actually goes by the armature, it actually generates electricity, and high tension electricity actually goes through the spark plug wire to your spark plug and provides a spark for ignition. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that this gap right between here and your flywheel and the magnet on the flywheel specifically is about 10/1000ths of an inch. Now what I got is just one of my business cards here, and you can just stuff it in here, and if it's gapped properly, then that should fit pretty snug, as you can see. So whoever replaced that coil actually did it properly when they re-gapped it. If it wasn't proper, what you're going to do is you're just going to remove or loosen these 2/4 inch bolts. You're going to put the flywheel, turn the flywheel so that the magnet, obviously put in your business card first, but this will be able to actually move back and forth. So when you loosen those guys up, you'll be able to move it back and forth. You spin it so that the flywheel actually lines up, the magnet lines up with your coil, with your business card in there, and then you'll feel it actually suck itself in, like, because it's a magnet. And then you just tighten those down, and then you can remove your business card and you're done. So that's done. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just for curiosity's sake, I'm going to take this nut off of this starter cup on the top of the flywheel, because underneath there is actually a very important component called a flywheel key. And if you're ever trying to start your lawnmower and the pull cord rips out of your hand, it's probably because you either probably hit something with the blade and it will shear this key in here, and that's actually a good thing. It actually protects the motor from sudden stoppage and breaking internal components. So I'm going to just check that just out of curiosity because I'm already in here anyways. So I think this is a 15/16 nut, so I'm just going to grab an impact and a 15/16 nut and get this guy off here, and we'll see what's underneath. Alright, so here's the setup here. I just got a, actually I got a corded half-inch impact with a 15/16 socket on there. And I'm just going to spin this guy off. And that's it. Okay. And this starter cup will come off, and then we'll be able to see the flywheel key. Alright. So I didn't suspect there was anything wrong with the flywheel key, but right there you can see there's a bit of a slot in the top of the, that's actually the top of the crankshaft. And there's a slot there, and then in the flywheel there's also another slot, and that makes basically a big square. Some of them are not square, the Compsies are a slightly different shape, but you get the same idea. And you get a small little piece of aluminum that fits in that little square that it makes, and it lines the crankshaft up with the flywheel. And that's important to get the proper timing from the ignition system on your lawnmower. If the timing is off when you go to pull that pull cord, a lot of times that's going to create issues for you, and it's going to snap back and it hurts really bad. That's probably a sheared flywheel key. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take an air gun. I'm going to make sure I block off the intake, but I'm going to take an air gun to this thing and try and clean out all the debris and the garbage, especially from the fins here, all the gunk. This is an air-cooled engine, guys, so you got to try and keep it as clean as possible. And that's what your yearly service gets you. When you're paying somebody, you know, 50 or 60 bucks to tune up your lawnmower every year, well, this is the kind of stuff your lawnmower tune-up guy should be doing. So that's all I'm going to do next. I'll see you in a bit. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lube up a lot of these sort of connections, some of the cables, spray some up in the cable there. And the other ends of the cables up here. Now the lighting's terrible here. I'll spray both sides of these cables. Again, just good preventative maintenance. You want your machines and stuff to last for a while. This is a small little stuff you guys are going to want to do. Again, same thing here with the starter recoil. So right in where the pawls are. And then the other thing I like to do is spray it up and inside where the spring goes. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I'll try and get you a good shot of it. But right here, right there is where the end of the spring comes out. I know it's not really that great of a shot. What I like to do is try and spray it up and in there out, and then it gets it right in where the spring goes. So that's all I'm going to do next. Alright, I guess next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this nasty gas out of this gas tank. I just usually keep a bunch of old ice cream tubs for this job. Carburetor's done, that's good. Alright, I think that's all I'm going to be able to get out of it for now. But, I don't know guys, take a look at this. nasty. Don't see a lot of water in there per se, but it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a nice clear with a tinge of yellow, not orange. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to put this carburetor back together now. Just the reverse order. Since this video is already getting a little bit on the long side, I'm not going to film this, but it's exactly just the reverse, the opposite of what we did to take it apart. I'll see you when I got her all back together. Alright, so I got the carburetor almost back on, but I just wanted to show you the modification I did here with this guy, this little flywheel. You can see now it doesn't rub at all on the ignition coil. So when this auto choke comes out, turns off the choke, it's not going to touch anymore. So all is well there. So the next part in the process here for tuning up this mower is just changing the oil. I did run it for about 5 minutes and get the oil nice and warm, so it helps it all drain out. You can see it's pretty much all drained out there, pretty black. So we'll give that bit of a change. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to come around the other side here and take a look at the underside. Obviously I'm going to get off all those grass cakes and take this blade off, give it a bit of a sharpen, and I'll use my impact for that, the 9/16 socket on it. Blade looks in pretty decent shape. It's been sharpened before, not very well, but I'll give it a bit of a sharpen. Before sharpen and balance the blade, guys, usually I try and get a lot of this crusty stuff off, all the caked on grass and such. Just using a wire brush, get most of it off. There's some pretty good chunks on here. Probably use a scraper. Get my scraper out. Try and get all the chunks, major chunks off, because that will affect the balance of the blade. And you'll get it sharpened up and think it's balanced, and it won't be balanced. So get as much of that stuff off as you can. I'll do it on the other side here in just a second as well, but this is something I'm looking at for sharpening the edge here. And you want to try and just keep the profile the same as what was on it. The last person who did this sharpening just kind of didn't do a very good job, gouged it pretty bad. So I'll try and make it a nice, smooth profile here. So here we are, guys. We're going to balance this lawnmower blade. First thing you're going to need as far as tools, you can pick up one of these guys. Just a little blade balancer. Definitely less than 10 bucks on Amazon. And basically this, what it does is just like a little teepee kind of thing, and it always kind of comes back to center because it's balancing on the end of this point. So you put your blade on there, and what you're looking for is that it's side to side, nice and level, nice and balanced. And as you can see, this one actually is pretty much right on as it sits. So I kind of got lucky on that one. If it wasn't, let's say this guy here was sitting down a little on the low side, what that would mean is obviously this side is a little bit heavier. So you would go back to your grinder and you take a little bit more material off of this side to get it so that it's nice and level.